You guys are enjoying this music? It's quite chill. It's a nice Sunday vibes. Hanging out, relaxing. Ahoy, ahoy, ahoy. How's everyone doing? Um, so, Jeff, good to see you. Yeah, the music helps you, I don't know, helps you get focused, helps you stay in the zone. Um, so, yeah, I didn't do a fire post. I got defeated. I don't know. I didn't seem to be up to my standards of quality for Instagram and stuff like that, so I held off on it. Let me see. You were defeated as well. Yeah, a lot of people took a lot of people down that fire. Yeah, I was trying like some different stuff, but it just seemed a bit. I don't know. I didn't like the shapes and stuff like that of it. I didn't like the quality of like the. I wanted to get more licks. It just seemed too crinkly, too chaotic. I think my turbulence and stuff like that was too high. So I might just keep playing around with that and try to get some better looking stuff from it. But yeah, I think just it's quite difficult to get, especially doing animations, like maybe still moving to still images. Like you might be able to knock more stuff out that way. Next time use shelf tools. Yeah, it's I mean, shelf tools is nice. Like you could get, I don't know if this was just like a still image with some color corrections, it might be better. But yeah, I don't know, just in terms of the whole thing, like maybe trying to tackle an animation is for each one. I was biting off. The first one I just did a still and it worked out pretty well, but I don't know if I'm going to keep up the pace doing. Yeah, I still did some tweaks. I was trying to push it, and then like I was doing more things with the motion, but just overall, I don't know. I think I need to rework some of the forces and stuff like that, just because it was like it just wasn't looking as good as I wanted it to in the end. The point for me is to learn. I'm still learning, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, even if you don't post it, like just going through the steps and then learning, seeing what went wrong, what could go better. Mr. Tuna, how's mistaken tuna? How's it going, Steve? But your swag bag. Yeah, I don't know. I have enough side effects. I don't know what it's gonna be. Hopefully, it's some nice stuff. But yeah, I'm okay with that. The swag bag. Master. I'm no master. I'm but a dilettante. So yeah, I was just gonna play around with some stuff regarding waves. This is probably gonna be a shorter stream today. I'm not intending to like work towards a actual like finished thing, finished result or whatever today. Like with the whole animation and concept and stuff like that. I'm just gonna be playing around with some stuff like that. Maybe just like an hour and a half or something. So I think one thing that I was interested in is like this ripple solver. This is like a bit of a older, I think it was an older solver, but they've gone in and reworked it and stuff like that. You go inside of it, and this one's actually, I think it's pretty straight. Whoa, what happened here? Oh my. Yeah, I don't think you want to go inside. I don't know what they're doing there. Maybe don't look inside of it. But it's just meant to do like 2D ripples and stuff, I believe. But I think you can do it on a 3D surface as well. So I was gonna try it on this sphere and just see what happens. You can do it on a sphere. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they've named this like Wave 2D SOP, and then just looking at this stuff was a bit... Oh my goodness, get out of there. Help! So, yeah, so I think one of the things that you can do is give it like a kind of guide animation. If we just do like mountain, just gonna turn off these lights and turn off this other stuff. So if I do mountain and I just have this time, maybe I'm just gonna offset in Y with time, maybe just negative. Whoa. So this way this is kind of like the trick I did with the bubbles. So just moving the noise in the opposite direction, it makes it look like it's just traveling upwards. Maybe, I don't know which of these could be cool. So we'll just see if it works. Basically, the first input, I believe, is the rest geometry. So I think the way that they're using rest, it's a bit confusing, but it's kind of like a target. So it will try to become that shape, essentially, like the edge lengths, and the mesh will be being forced to kind of conform to that shape, but it's also will get these residual ripples and stuff like that. You might want more substeps to like get it to calm down a little bit. It might be just too much the motion I'm trying to give it might be like too different from its original shape. So maybe just make that element size smaller. And I'm gonna go into this just real-time playback. Maybe we want more resolution there. So it might be too much. I think this rest spring stuff was also... Some of these numbers, I think I've done it before in the past, like above 1. But these will... You basically just have like a spring with a decay, and then I think conservation is kind of like decay. But these are all trying to return it to its original... or catch up to its new rest kind of state. I might want to... This mountain might just be too much. Maybe we'll just try the bend. This one's pretty cool. I think maybe just a different axis. Maybe I don't want to be, I think this origin. It's kind of a funny one. Whoop, whoop. I think maybe not bending, but twisting. So just go down to twist. So let's try maybe Let's try that. So just because it's trying to meet that twisted rotation in the top of it, then you get the nice kind of ripples and stuff like reflecting off of the rest of the edges and mesh and everything like that. And I was thinking that there was like extra attributes and stuff that you can use to, there might be some point attributes you can use to modify these settings. This is the slowest the help browser has ever behaved. Iluad, how's it going? Yeah, so they're saying here it's not restricted to grid topology. Yeah, so these are the point attributes. So if you want like different settings spatially over the surface, you can use those. This animation here looks pretty cool. So some of these numbers, when you get them in above 1 or wacky ranges, they start to blow up. And then if we really wanted super interesting motion, I think like we add animation to this. I just multiply it by a sine function. Just do sine $FF. This is the floating frame. I'll just multiply it by 4. So this way, over time, the twist will be going back and forth, kind of oscillating like that. So we have waves on waves, stacking a bunch of waves. So our rest or target geometry is kind of rocking back and forth like that. And then this thing will get a pretty interesting like undulation, blobby stuff happening today. Joseph Mueller, Brockman, you're not too late. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting started pretty slowly. Use normal. You think it's nice to check use normal frame? Uses arrest normal to move based on geometry surface instead of world space. You need arrest normal. Yeah, I'm not sure how much that stuff helps. We can try it. I'm not sure how much our arrest normals would be changing because of the surface. Like the profile isn't, the primitives don't really look like their normals are different. Trying to generate some idea to achieve in Houdini. Sometimes it's hard to improvise. But to do it your way, don't want to tell you? Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I think rest normals, you want to use them generally to get like accurate deformation and stuff like that. But I'm just not sure in this case. Like I usually, if something's available, I'll try to set it up and test it. But I'm not sure what the best way is. So I think if you have something with like a box with sharp edges, that the rest normals will help if a ripple is going around that. But because I have a perfect sphere, like in this case, the surface, the curvature of the surface is uniform in all areas. So it's basically just doesn't apply in this case, I think. We could try it and kind of see what happens. Like, put a box here. I don't really have an idea that I'm going with today. I'm just more playing around, so I'm happy just to give stuff a test. So this crease weight, you can kind of control like the just how much smoothing happens when things get subdivided. And you can see we have some issues there because of the normals. Like this vertex normals first gets assigned, and then when things are subdivided, they don't appear right anymore. We just do another one, and that should fix it. And then this right here is like where the normals would be changing quite a bit, and you would want the ripples to reorient or properly bend around them. Now I think we might want to do another normal. I'm not sure if the ripple solver, like usually stuff in Houdini, prefers points the normals to be on points. So it looks like it's playing a lot faster with it. I don't know if it's looks like something, I don't know. I don't know, it seems like it's matching stuff unless my settings are super far off. I'm just gonna move along without it for right now. But yeah, it's starting to look pretty cool at the top with like some of the shapes that stuff was giving. Maybe put this mountain back in the mix. I don't know if it's my time. I'm just gonna scale that down by 12. Some of this stuff, I think it was just a bit too strong. This is like, because the ripple stop is like, it's using springs, kind of each point is like attached to a spring that's trying to yank it to its new position, and then that's the oscillation of that spring is what generates ripples. If you force the springs with too much velocities or too much difference, like they will kind of blow up or they can explode. This thing's pretty cool. Just like some ambient noise or abstract stuff or whatever. Brothers, how's it going, Umir? So maybe I'm just gonna turn that bend back off. This could be cool to morph between like a hard surface box or something like that. Maybe even, let's go with tighter edges. I don't know if those the edges look like they're messing stuff up a little bit, but it could be cool to transition into like a liquid mercury or like a liquid surface or something like that. Looking very fresh. Yeah, I'm just kind of messing around today. It's going to be a shorter stream, but I'm just playing around with the wave idea. So I dropped out of, gave up on the Hulai stuff with my fire. Got the too fast pace for me to try to do an animation every day. So I don't know, those edges might just be when they get too the crease is too sharp, it will cause problems with the ripple solver, like the intersections or whatever. Shades of Orange, how's it going? So I'm gonna maybe let's put a expression in the bend and see what happens. I think I'm gonna try maybe more of it. You're going for the full 31? No, I missed the fire yesterday. I'm just messing around with this stuff today. I don't really have a plan to submit anything with the wave stuff. I'm kind of dropping out. I don't know, like looking at that, where did it go? Yeah, so I don't know, like some of these you already lost. I already lost, yeah. Waving the flag. The materials one seemed pretty interesting to me. Like me knowing a lot of effects, I really wanted to try these. But a lot of these other ones, I just never, I don't know how, you think Iron Man post can be one day later? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not too, I'm like, I might still work on the fire one and post it later, but I'm not too concerned about the competition, like following the rules of it or whatever. Just because I'm not trying to win all the prizes or anything like that. It's not a big, I think just getting a nice collection of works or whatever is the highest, should be the highest priority or whatever. But if you, I mean, if you're learning, I don't know, even if you're learning it, I guess it's a good way to get a wide variety of techniques. You're Kappa-ing me? Not enough swag for the swag pack. Didn't have enough. Not enough drip in the swag pack for me. So let's try to get maybe a better noise here. So I think maybe this height, you like inflate it too much. It's a bit of a problem. Maybe my roughness, all this stuff is just a bit too high. I feel like your underlying noise that you're using to like drive stuff with, if that is too bumpy or the too high frequency, then it just introduces too much like sizzling or noise. You go Ocean Surface instead of Mountain? You think Ocean Surface will work well with the ripple? I've tried, I know that kind of even has smaller waves and stuff built in. Have you guys ever gotten, I've always had some problems getting it to work on like a sphere or a 3D object. Let's do ocean evaluate. Ocean spectrum. They did some enhancements to that a while ago, if I recall. Yeah, so I know that they did do some stuff. So originally, when they first introduced this, it was always. I'm just gonna make this thing bigger. Like usually, this expects like the grid space or the size of the object to be around 50 meters or 50 by 50 or whatever. So we'll put that kind of close. I think we want more resolution. So when they first introduced this tool, it was always like doing a top-down projection. And then they did do maybe around like Houdini 16 or something. They did do some modifications, I think with this wave instancing stuff, to allow you to kind of like a copy SOP, or copy to points or whatever. Like I think you can scatter points, and then it will use those as projectors onto the geometry to instance waves or to make new waves. So maybe like 10 points, and looks like we just plug them into this input. And then maybe on here, I might need all these different attributes. I'm not sure. Radius controls the influence of scatter points. Do you think seems like something's happening. I'm not sure why I keep seeing that so much stretching. I don't know if I have this stuff plugged in properly. Might be normals. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've seen it. Let me see if there's this one's a new one. So they're making it looks like maybe I can use this one as an example. So it looks like they make a grid or a line. This is, I think they're using this to like manually sculpt waves. But it looks like they want normals on the points that they're instancing. Maybe a velocity, but we could try it with, let's try adding normals and see what happens. Aha! Shades of orange, you nailed it. Thank you, yeah. So it looks like we just needed the normals for the points to properly know where to project them. So yeah, I think this, now it's working properly. Pretty cool like that. We might want, I don't know if we want like less. Seems like there's still some tearing in that projection. So I guess just tweaking the radius to get like an interesting blends of overlap and stuff like that. I'm guessing like where you see too much streaking of this projection, there's just not enough points. Maybe like changing the seeds to get an interesting looking shape. Let me think about this. But yeah, I might just go with relax iterations. This will try to force them to be like evenly spread out. Something like this could be cool. The visualize. Ooh. This is this is pretty nice. So this red grid is like the size of the ocean. There's a lot going on here. It's pretty good. I've never understood this spectrum one. You can tell who watched the ocean class. It's a cozy session today. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit more laid back. I think I was moving too quickly before with the Hulai daily challenges, and then trying to work through like a full idea start to finish or whatever. I got a bit burned out. It's just a cozy plan today. No plan. But yeah, I think we can get these waves looking a little bit better. We just make them. It's good for wave instancing feedback. I'm not sure what you mean by feedback. So something like this seems pretty good, like somewhat natural. Let's just keep. Sometimes I work this way, just kind of left to right, like drafting ideas or sketching or whatever. And we'll take our sphere stuff that we've done. Oh my goodness. All right. And so these spheres right now, they have different topologies and sizes. I think what we want to do is just do this match size. So now it's gonna just copy the reference scale, because this ocean spectrum stuff likes to work at a different scene scale or scene size or whatever. Sometimes it's easier just to change to that scale, do your deformation, and then revert back to the original scale that you were working in. Vegan nuts? Yes, it's been good. This is just a slower, calmer, cozier session today. I waved the flag on my daily submissions for Hulai. I got defeated. So I don't have a general plan in terms of outcome. I'm just hanging out, just kind of messing around for a little bit today. So we do our operation here, and to go away from my workstation, so I'd not be doing Hulai for about a week. Yeah, it's too bad, but I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to take a breather on things. Sometimes I've found, like, after stepping away from like Houdini or a computer for like a week, you'll come back and you'll just have a ton of ideas. New like approaches, like just you'll be in a rut before that, and then like whatever thing you were trying to accomplish, you were trying a bunch of stuff that wasn't working, and then you'll take like a week off, you'll come back and you'll just be like, oh, this, how could I have not seen this was the much better way to have like tackled this or accomplished it or whatever. So I'm just stashing this transform that this thing's doing, and then if I do this middle mouse button, you can see it's adding a detail attribute that's recording like the scaling, translation, and rotation that like any changes that it's making to the geometry, it's encoding them in this detail attribute. And then if you want to go back to how it was before, they have a transform by attribute node that is like specifically set up just to look for that detail attribute. Right now it's just applying the same operation twice. So it's going from the default really small size, getting scaled to match this one, and then that same like scale of multiplied by 50 is getting applied again, which is not what we want. You just do this invert transformation, then we're back to the original size. So these two things work together pretty nicely using this attribute. Usually attributes don't work this way. Like with, I don't know, this is the only like area of Houdini that I've seen them set it up like this. It's pretty nice. The transform node has the option to record, like make note of the transformations it's applying and record them in a detail attribute. So now we can just plug this in. So the reason I do all this is just to make sure that the topology and the scale are matching our original. We don't want any of that stuff. So now we have a pretty cool like ocean spectrum driving those big waves, and then this ripple should be making smaller ones. So I think this thing's moving pretty slowly. We might need more resolution on our mesh to pick up some of the thinner, like finer ripples. I'm going to try turning the wave speed and some of this stuff down. So I think one thing you can do as well is maybe like replicate some of this stuff with Vellum, because a cloth solver works very similarly to this ripple solver. It's basically just using like springs or constraints to attach points together, and then you're trying just to add forces and stuff with those springs to get them behaving like cohesively as a ripple or a cloth. It's both of them have similar, they're just like reacting to the wind essentially. Things looking interesting. Could have used this on my first the first thing with that earth. It's like a bit kind of like clay or like a sculptor kind of thing. Like this looks a bit like molded clay or something like that. Like you have big thumbprints and stuff. It seems like somehow there's a bit of gravity or something being applied, where like the bottom, all this stuff is drooping down, and then the top, this stuff is sagging. I don't know if these waves are properly oriented from top to bottom, but it looks pretty cool. Yeah, so this might be a cool thing to play around with. I'm just going to organize this a bit. There's a few different ideas there. This guy, we don't really need it. The next thing I was thinking about or kind of playing around with was doing some stuff with redshift, with like applying a wave look with displacements or something like that. So we'll just keep going with a sphere. And then if I assign this material, so I'll just get rid of that for right now. So I was using these Maxon noises before. They're pretty nice. I think I added them with like Redshift 3.0. So there's a ton of interesting looking ones. Certain ones might look more like this wavy. It doesn't look too much like waves. So electric one could be nice. So we apply it as a displacement. You can just link the texture up like this. It exploded. So the scale starts off a bit too high. One thing that we can do is kind of modify these using SOPs, using like coordinates and stuff. So this by default is just using the object space of the geometry to apply the noise. But we could use this UV or vertex attribute instead. And instead of UV, I think we can just type in rest. And just keep going with the twist. So if I just look at the wireframe or the edges of the mesh, I'm gonna go turn off the bend, go back into this twist. So I don't know why this, I was trying to figure it out earlier, but it looks like the twist is only happening on one side of everything. Like it's not happening in the negative axis. Usually that happens when you have this limit, never move your capture origin. You think that's what I did that messed it up? This length? Put it back to default. Oh, move your capture origin. Oh, sorry, I misread that. So we just need to move it far away from the center. So maybe just try something like this. So at the poles, stuff is a bit flat or undistorted, and then in the middle, we've got quite a bit of warping. So if I just do this rest, and just connect it like this. So this one is just going to use the distorted topology to define its rest coordinates. like the rest attribute, and then the point position or current position will go into that input. So let's just gonna find an area where this stretching should be quite high. I don't know if it might not match up because it's like going between distorted and undistorted. Like the position might have moved basically. I might have to go into my camera. I don't know if it's getting the rest. Sometimes you have to promote it to a vertex. It seems like some other third-party renderers prefer attributes to be at a vertex level. Doesn't seem to make a difference. One thing I do, like if you just really want to test stuff, you can make rest and just set it to 0. So this way we should know very quickly whether or not it's working or not. It just looks like it's not having any effect. It's possible this really just wants UVs and not attributes like that. We could try doing I don't know if maybe just renaming this. I feel like this is the area that Mantra really is a lot better at. Yeah, so it looks like it's working here. Maybe I don't know, maybe it just didn't like that I was trying to use rest as the name of the attribute. Yeah, so this is what I was trying to do. With Mantra and stuff, it's easier to set up, but basically you can do some nice kind of reprojected attributes. Yeah, distortion. So with Mantra, you could even just do all this stuff in the shader. But with Redshift, you don't have as much like flexibility. You can't use Vex. You can't use like custom code in the shader. You can do similar techniques of basically like distorting the noise lookup position before you generate the noise, essentially. So I was thinking this, I don't know if you were just going to do a still image instead of an animation. Going this way, something like this could be quite nice. I don't know. It's an interesting way to make something that looks like waves or a wavy pattern. It seems like their scale is just always a bit too... Ooh. I went the wrong way. So their scales, I just wanted to... I don't know if this noise just has these weird, kind of like a fractal, like the repetition of it is a bit odd. Well, let's try maybe going to a different noise pattern. I think this cranial one is a pretty wave-like pattern. It's kind of like this turbulence. I don't know what, everyone's just rebranding these noises with different names, but under the, like, technically they're all using just 3 or 4 different functions and then layering them or doing some different math and stuff to them. So let's try maybe going negative and positive. It looks a bit cleaner. Looks like I'm starting to drop, maybe drop some frames again. But yeah, I think this looks pretty interesting. So I'm just gonna save this stream, just do a new folder. This is 7th, month number 7, 5th of July. And I'm just saving it so I can close this scene. Sometimes it crashes or whatever. There was some frames or whatever that I was dropping. I'm just gonna go into my Houdini ENV. Those icons, I just wanted them completely turned off, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't want to see anything on my desktop, essentially. I've just been using it as a like a place to store clutter. So if I go into here, I'm just gonna turn this, oh, not that one. Turn this one, save it. Basically, what I was doing with that was turning on and off or disabling my extra GPU. So now Redshift is just using the RTX 8000 and not the GTX one for rendering. So this way I should be able to render without dropping frames. Like dropping frames on the OBS or with the stream or whatever. So it looks like it's working. It doesn't really change the rendering speed that much, because it's like the card isn't that good compared to the other one. But if you're rendering like overnight or whatever, that's why I was changing it. So now with the tessellation displacement, I think we can fix some of these problems. So that just happens with the edge length when it gets displaced is too long. So maybe something like that. And sometimes I go up to 8. I don't know, like 9 is the highest I'd go with that. It looks like we might have fixed it a little bit. It could also be artifacts with this source geometry. Like when I go up here, you can see some of that similar type of tearing. So we just go up to 32 with that frequency. See if this fixes that issue. We have more of it in a different issue. Let's try maybe going down to 2. You might be able to go down to 1 with that. So it will slow down your, like, building the hierarchy, or the renderer has to think about things for a longer time to like build its representation of the geometry and displace it when you reduce and change these settings for higher quality stuff. I'll get some water. It should be rendering in I don't know. I might have crashed it. It's working. Poggies. So it looks like we did fix all of these because of that edge length being small enough. Yeah, so just depending on those artifacts, that's usually what I do to get rid of them. Pog. There might be some like technical settings that I'm not looking at, but usually that's just the quickest way I've found to sort out those issues. I'm just going to keep moving along with them for right now, with them still in the render, just to update and change settings and stuff more quickly. I think, I don't know, maybe this scale, try going back down a little bit smaller. Maybe just try going a lot bigger. And then just making the displacement amplitude higher. This is pretty nice. Waves, done, final. So it might be, I don't know, it might be interesting doing like glass shader on stuff. Bit of frosted glass or something like that. Kind of more of like a liquid or a water slime or something like that. Let's just try making a grid, something for it to refract or reflect. I'm just gonna lock the camera into the view. So I don't know, I think maybe this glass isn't the best. Just go back to the kind of plastic. I think the default settings for these is just the plastic. So let's try some of these other noises, see what happens. This thing's a bit more wavy. So I increased that twist amount. I added 100 to it. I just want to see what happens really. Whoa. It's pretty cool. A wavy boy. I think it's better seeing the side of it. This like stretching. It's cool how this stuff is like warping as well, getting like a kind of like a tornado or something like that. The bubbly one is a cleaner abstract shape. Which one are you saying the first is? Just the cranial noise type? You just make a copy of that. Cranial. The puffy one was pretty cool. I think I agree. And then with less twisting, I think that was a pretty refined looking shape. I'm not trying to go for an end result with today's stream, so I'm just keep playing around or whatever. But I think this one with a bit less twisting was probably looking close to the best. Let's just try maybe 75, like split the difference. Just check it out, see what we get. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool, just abstract. It's kind of more of air, like inflated. The other one was a bit more like chiseled or deflated. This is like an airbag or something like that. That's like puffed full of air. I think maybe this twisting is still too much. So originally I was at 35. That kind of value seemed to be working the best. Playing in H18 with no end goal is the best pastime. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's cool to be able just to experiment, and you have like a general, like I tend to go in. I think these prompts with Houdini, some of them are better than others, but like just a general single phrase word of like wave, spring, like delicacy, like fragility or something like that. Like just try to visually make some like a structure that conveys that dictionary definition or whatever that word means. Like that's a very like designer type of approach or whatever of creating concepts or ideas or whatever. So it's I don't know, but it's cool just to go in as well, just play around with nodes, see what happens, like a mad scientist, just connect things and see what results you get and everything like that. I might try something with these. So we're just doing a twist right here, like that. So we can also maybe just with a bop do like an additional distortion. If we are going around the direction of waves, like this curl noise tends to generate a more wavy, fluid looking result than the other noises. Like this one, you'll get smooth motion and smooth deformations, but some of the other ones you get like more jagged, rough kind of results. If I just add the result of this to the point position, and then I usually just do this vector to vector 4, and then this just always seems a bit too strong. So this is what I mean by wave, like the results here you're getting, it's just producing more finer waves, essentially. So because we're still just using the first source topology, it should just kind of keep deforming or distorting this noise, displacement noise lookup. So now we're getting some even more waviness. This stuff is pretty cool, actually. So we could try even going a bit higher, a 0.25. Anyone in the chat has Hulai submissions from today or yesterday? This is pretty cool. It's a bit like lava or something, the way that it's folding up like that. I think it's a bit too strong. Sometimes when you crank these noises up too high, it just becomes like a bunch of circles. Like it's I don't know, it just becomes too much of like an interference or whatever to tell what's going on. Sometimes if you want like just more distortion, you have to work at a lower frequency with this noise. So if I just do this at 1/4 of the scale, then you can just kind of like stretch it further without rolling it in on itself or whatever. This thing's pretty nice. This lick right here kind of turned out pretty well. You came back from walking the dog and you like what you see. It's a good thing to find after you return from a walk. Yes, I've just been messing around with like applying a noise to displace the geometry at render time with Redshift. But with SOPs, what I'm doing is distorting the attribute that the noise is looking at to generate the pattern. So instead of this topology, the noise pattern's generated using this topology, or these positions. I began Hulai, and then after like 3 hours in, I read that you can't use Geom that is not made in Houdini, and I used a skull sculpted in ZBrush. I gave up when I realized that I didn't follow the rules. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if you're not following the rules, it's not a big deal. You could, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the best part of it is just putting it on the social media with the hashtags. Like other people will still see it. I don't know. It's kind of like invalidating their competition or the sanctity of it that way or something. But it's just about making stuff or whatever. No one has to know. I don't know why, but I get a Lee Griggs vibe out of this render. Yeah, I mean, Lee Griggs does a lot of just render time, like displacements and distortions and stuff. I think there was even in the Arnold docs, like there's some glass sculpture or something they used for a caustics example that looks kind of like this. It has bigger things ballooning out, but I think this noise pattern we're using now is pretty popular with like Cinema 4D, and Arnold has like an equivalent to it as well. Yeah, so this who's this? Chris? You just go by Chris or Chris Arn. The displacement here, there's a twist to the geometry, and then this is curl noise inside of here that I'm just adding to the point position, and then I'm storing that as the rest attribute of the geometry. This I had to rename it to UV for Redshift to pick it up, and then here in the shader I just tell it to use instead of object space, like the current space, it's using the distorted noise coordinates or noise pattern So if I switch between the two, like if I go back to object space and do a render, we can see like the undistorted positions. So this is what it would look like typically, and then using this other attribute or the other set of coordinates, the distortion set. Might need to kick it off again. Caustics might be nice. Ooh, thank you. Yeah, I think this one turned out pretty well with the composition and stuff that I did. Yeah, I was really enjoying these curved, kind of playful. It's got like an Art Deco vibe or something like that. But yeah, the caustics seem pretty nice with Redshift. You could even do this as a like metallic surface and just get reflective caustics. I could try to find the thing. Like I don't want to push it too much into the caustics territory because so this is the sculpture that I was talking about that I was getting the Lee Griggs vibe from, as someone else might have been as well. But yeah, basically in the documentation of Arnold, they have this thing animating with caustics mapped to it and stuff like that. You get some really cool results from it. But yeah, it's I guess they modeled this because you could actually see it before displacements. You might be able to make something like this with Vellum and then using like the pressure attribute to expand stuff in certain areas. I'm gonna make this roughness a bit higher, just to, I don't know. Either want to do that, or maybe we just go back to, it's like the same problem we were having with the bubbles. Like the grid, these rect lights, I think sometimes just discs. I guess this disc is like twice as bright somehow. Seemed to just look better in the reflections. Yeah, I mean, Caustics, Redshift is still just doing the photon mapping. So on your light here, if you just check emit Caustics photons, and then like on your ground, I guess you don't have to do it anymore. I think they changed the defaults. Maybe on the object, like that you're saying is glass, you need to toggle that on with Caustics photons. So it's kind of a hack, and it can be like a pre-pass on the renderer. Like it's another step it has to do before it starts rendering the image. But you could get, it's the fastest I've ever found. Someone else was in here saying they were getting good results with Mantra. I think it's possible, like Mantra has a photon mapping as well, that you can get good results that way too. I'm just going to turn on this GI to get the bounce light and stuff like that. Yeah, this is you, Steve, right? You were the one with that amazing looking render? The caustics in that looked very clean. Like the way that they were animating and stuff, it was similar to this kind of sculpture too. So let me think. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes with just like too much diffuse, just we have like too much bounce lighting right now, I'm thinking. If we go higher with the IOR, we'll have more of like a metallic reflective surface, and then I think we'll preserve some of that contrast. This is pretty interesting before. It might be too much. It's like steel, metal now. Maybe just reducing the diffuse. But yeah, I was liking this swath of stuff being darker down there before. Like this line being clearly readable is like the dominant shape or whatever in your composition. Pretty cool. So I think with Redshift, they also have this Fresnel node that's like the facing ratio. And I think you could use it with the ramp. You just do Alt input, and you just connect it, and it will use that as the source. So this is the way, or this is a way that people can do kind of iridescent stuff, or change the reflection of things, like the reflection color over how much the surface is facing the camera. So if we just go to the base properties and maybe just start with reflection color. There's no like physically accurate settings really, because none of the renderers are doing like spectral, most of them aren't doing like spectral math. But if you just do like something kind of close to a rainbow or some funky colors. Seems like sometimes this iridescent stuff, like a pearl, or I don't know if that's might not even be like iridescent, but sometimes they don't have the full spectrum. It's just like a subset of colors. We could just try that and see what happens. So it might be that sometimes this stuff is just a bit too broad. I've never been too certain what this like curve fall off and stuff is doing. It seems like I have too much of my colors stacked up in the wrong portion of my ramp, kind of. I don't know what's going on there. It's a bit odd. We got some very we're back in the Baja Blast Mountain Dew category with our colors here. This is very like a jet ski in the 90s or something. A very Miami Vice color palette. Yeah, so it looks like this top of the ramp is just like, I don't know, if maybe I need to redo the render to update it or something. This should be going from 0 to 1. I might have messed it up with the curve fall off or something. Let's try it one more time. But yeah, before, without this orange or red or whatever, there's the blue, teal or whatever, cyan, green, and this is all very, it's like the bottom of a snowboard or something. It's like a lot of extreme sports vibe from that color palette. Let's just try going back to like closer to the defaults there. I might hold off on that for now. I think it was better with a more minimal type of reflections, or just less going on with the colors. So I don't know, it's a bit cleaner or something. This stuff is really cool, how it's reflecting and going down like that and everything. It might look cool as a volume too. Do you think you can you do a displacement on, can you just run a volume shader on geometry with Redshift and it will, I know you can do that with Mantra and it's super convenient. But I don't know if we can do it with Redshift. Yeah, so with Redshift, like, you can do, if you just go into this Milky Coffee territory, they have it set up here with the subsurface settings to kind of, I think you still have some specular component, but like it kind of makes it look like it's a volume. If you want, if I'm trying to render like geometry as volumes with Redshift, usually I just use that shader. It looks like it still has some specular. I don't know if these are highlights. This thing's always a bit, I guess that there's no specular. But yeah, this thing is meant for like cream in a coffee or something like that, but basically using these settings or these extinction and scatter, you could kind of get like a fake subsurface scattering, fake volume effect or whatever. I think it's not very physically accurate or like physically based. It's pretty, the math or whatever that they're doing isn't, it's very just like hacky, but you'd still get some cool results and stuff from it. There it is, the Baja Blast ball. But yeah, I might try layering, maybe add, maybe, yeah, I think we want to do an add, like layering some more displacements. I don't know, some just to get some more shapes and stuff in there. Might have to recompile or restart the render. So it looks like this one, my scale of it is too high. So if I'm layering stuff, I just want it to be like a higher frequency or smaller scale features that I'm adding. And then maybe just the end result, if I multiply it by -1. Most of these noises go from 0 to 1, so they're just like positive numbers. So they're just gonna keep pushing everything outwards. or like the sphere will just keep growing the more displacements, the more layers that I add. So this one I just negate or flip around to push things inwards. This is a bit pretty cool, getting just the differentiation of like frequencies of things happening. And then I think you can also just do like, the redshift shaders are a bit weird. Like they just always are treating vectors like colors and stuff like that, or just their terminology. They should just pick to either always call a vector or a vector a color. It's a bit weird. But I'm basically just going to use this one to blend like how much of the color or 0. So I'm basically just multiplying it, like scaling it by 25. But you could use these, even though it says like color mixed, you can use it to mix noises that way and just blend between them. So it could be cool animating some of these noises, seeing what happens. It's very hard to know what these numbers do off the top of my head. Let's just, I'm gonna go into this GI bounces and turn them down. I don't need to be at the full resolution. Let's just see what it looks like. You think I should turn it's like my you're talking about subdivisions on the object, the geometry object, the displacement subdivisions. I think it would speed it up. It does seem like I forgot to turn this thing on. We could do that. These are the subdivisions you were talking about? But yeah, it just depends what speed you're looking to work at. Like, I'm imagining with those subdivisions, like if you really wanted to, you could probably bang out this kind of stuff within like 5 minutes. Right now, I think I'm probably more on a trajectory for like the whole sequence might take 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something. But yeah, I think that subdivision would be the first place to go, because that's just looking at things like it's spending half the time between images just like generating and loading the geometry. Then the actual noise stuff is pretty fast. But yeah, this stuff is pretty cool. So generally what I was doing with my noises, like the larger stuff, I typed in a smaller number for the speed. Seems like generally with noises and displacements and stuff, the bigger features, you just want to move them slower. And then the smaller ones have them a bit faster, just like to make the scale, the motion kind of realistic or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if maybe even it's probably even a bit too fast. I don't know. I know you weren't gonna animate, but it looks super cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even really planning to submit this for anything. I'm just kind of messing around. I just wanted to see what that stuff looks like. If you're doing procedural animation, it's a lot easier to have stuff look good or get results quickly. Just going into the simulation territory, I feel like with those first 4 days, if your plan was to approach them using solvers, is pretty difficult to like concept out, simulate, render, and submit a full simulation like each day that looks I don't know, it's pretty challenging. But doing procedural, like what I mean by procedural noises or the procedural animation is this stuff is just based off of math or equations. Like there's no computation that's going into the global like sequence of how this stuff is, just looking at some equation and it knows where to move. It's not doing like forces with physics, velocity, and a time step in each frame, like moving things that way. But yeah, I think this shape is pretty cool. Just I don't know, it might have been cooler. I think Vegan Nuts would probably agree. Like when it was, seemed like he was enjoying the simpler forms when it was just a few, like 3 or 4 big bulges or strips or stripes or whatever like that. But yeah, it's pretty good. Probably just gonna end the stream pretty soon here. If anyone has any submissions, they have any wind, or what do we, if they have any waves they've made, they've posted anywhere, share them up here, we'll take a look at them. Or if anyone has any fire from yesterday. I saw some people, I think either maybe in the Discord or like on the forums or something like that. There were some cool ones. I think we did look at some of the fires yesterday as well on the stream. Going to bed soon. Yes, thanks for stopping by and hanging out. Yes, I'll probably end it in a little bit. I got this file saved. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll post the file. I might post some of the older files from some of the Hulai stuff in the Discord as well. Sorry, I kind of just got too busy with all the submissions and stuff. I stopped posting the stuff for a little bit. If you win one of these daily contests, do you get anything special other than fame and glory? Yeah, I think there's some Intel Skull Canyon processor or something, that some subset of their processor SKUs that they might give you or something. Then I think that there was licenses like effects, Houdini effects, or indie licenses or stuff like that. Oh, they are actual computer units. Like it's a little compute box or something like that. Super low spec and small form factor. Yeah, I didn't understand what the NUC NUC. I couldn't comprehend what that meant. I hadn't seen it used before. But you think it's meant for like, you connect it to your render farm and you can use it with Houdini Engine or something like that? Like you could use it probably with tops with HQ and just have a complete monster. Maybe they're trying to push people into that. Looking forward to Redshift RT. Yeah, it should be. I haven't been able to read that much about it other than the fact that they like announced it and that they're working on it. But yeah, I'm a big fan, or I was looking forward to ways that I can render and see results more quickly. Like I feel like that's the best way to just produce better work, is reducing the time that you need to take between like pushing the buttons and seeing the results. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. So we could also animate like that distortion that we were doing in SOPs instead of animating the time parameter on Redshift, and have some animation, or like animate the distortions that way. It would be a bit more art directable and stuff. But yeah, it's just different ideas, different ways of making things, of playing around. Yeah, so I'll probably end it now. Thanks to everyone hanging out. We got some new followers. Thanks for everyone that stopped by, and some new people this stream. Yeah, take it easy. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.